Hi, I'm Ed and this is Malefic Made Miniatures, and today we're going to be kit bashing a Lord Exultant from the New Emperor's Children into a Sevatar-ish inspired model, and this was inspired by We Paint Minis as well. So they did a Sevatar in the 40k setting inspired model, and I just thought it would be really cool to do something similar because he's one of my favourite characters and I'm a massive Night Lords fan. I've actually got the OG Sevatar here, which I painted up fairly recently. I just did sort of like, I tried to do them to a decent standard, but I've not gone like OTT because I've got a lot of Night Lords that I'm trying to paint up. So yeah, basically that's it. I've pre-prepared a bunch of components. I'm going to show you what I've used, why I've used it, and why I think it will make a good model. And then in future videos, I'm going to be doing, so I've got my own flawless blade here. So these are going to be my counts as, oh, look at that, bit of stuff there. There we go. So professional. So yeah, my own flawless blade, but because I'm a Chaos Space Marine like main, I've actually magnetized the chainsaw there. And because they are Havocs, although that's a terrible one to show you because I've actually got a heavy bolter, still, there we go, super professional. So that one's going to have a heavy bolter, and here he is. This is the one that's going to have, so magnetized, there we go, and now he's Havocs for Chaos Space Marine main. Seamless. I mean, it juts out a bit, but they're such chunky models that I think it looks fine. And as a kit bash, it just means that I can use them for two different armies. Because I'm going to be doing, if I hadn't said before, I'm going to use my Night Lords as Emperor's Children, and I've got some of the new Emperor's Children models. So I'm going to kind of work on a way of painting them up to distinguish between the two. So very simple little things here. For instance, this is the aspiring champion or obsessionist, is it? So I've just done the whip on a slightly different angle, given him the Night Lord head, given him a Night Lord shoulder pad, changed the other one out just because, I don't know, it kind of worked, and like I can just do some nice little freehand lightning here. I was thinking a really simple way that I'm going to differentiate them is going to be to do the pink lightning. I think that looks really cool on Night Lords. It just pops, gives them a little bit of contrast. And so that's what I'm going to try and do to just kind of help distinguish them on the battlefield. But there's no reason why you couldn't use models like this for, say, Chosen or simply aspiring champions in your regular Chaos Space Marine squads as well. I think the beauty of Chaos is to really just use stuff as whatever you can. So on a completely different note, and I will move on soon, but this is like my Plague Marine aspiring champion. And so I've just done a bit of a kit bash here, and I've still kept him in the Night Lord scheme, but just with a few little bits of, grimness to him. But I kind of like the idea of, you can have your non-corrupted Night Lords, but then also just have different factions of the warband that have slowly fallen over time. Anyway, enough of that. That was a really long intro. I guess I'll timestamp this, and let's move on to the kit bash. Okay, so Lord Exultant kit bash. The components we're going to be using are, so I actually really like the whip that comes with the Lord Exultant, so I am going to be using this. Oh, can't focus up there. Yeah, I think it's really cool. I'll be honest, I don't like the tassel. However, the tassel is very close to the whip itself, and what I don't want to do is take away some of the detail. Now, I know that the way that it sits, so if we do that there, I might take that off in a second off camera. I might take that off, just because I don't really associate tassels with Sevatar. Although, so this isn't actually Sevatar, just to be clear. This is just Sevatar inspired. I've actually already named him, even though he's not done yet, counting my chickens. So this is going to be a cross between Sevatar and Decimus. This is going to be Decimar, the false prince, prophet of lies. So that's going to be him. Then we've got, so this is, if we get it in focus, wait, let's get that out of the way. This is what happens when you use an iPhone to film. There we go. Using what I have. So this is the Lord Exultant's Phoenix Spear, but I cut off the blade and I just literally went for, I think it was a chainsword from the just regular Chaos Space Marines, because I picked up a Nemesis Claw, obviously, for this Kitbash. I already had one before that, but I'd used all the components. But this one, I just thought it was quite a brutal looking chainsword. You can see it's got like the extra sort of bladed edge at the very top. It's got the spike jutting out here. And so the rationale for this was I liked the way that it worked with the pre-existing component, as if it could have been one thing. And obviously Sevatar had to have a Nostraman chainblade, or chain glaive, sorry. Because, well, it's literally his staple weapon. So then we've got the really, really nice skin cloak from Nemesis Claw. However, what I had to do here was on this side, so you can see these folds. So on this side here, I actually had to take one of the folds off because of how it would sit on the Mini. And then I put a tiny bit of epoxy putty onto the back. I pressed it on lightly and I put a bit of blue tack here to just while it dried to let it settle. And you can see it's still quite close. If you notice that gap there between the back of the leg, back of the ankle and the cloak, it's still very close, but I can just about glue it so that it's not touching. Because we don't really want the paint kind of pooling there. So it's not perfect, but it's close enough. And I think with the way the model is going to be posed, it should still work pretty damn well. So you can see there already kind of, it's got that, I don't know, it just has that look to it, right? Okay. Next up, this is Nick's straight from We Paint Minis. I thought it was a great idea. So it's the Visionary's helmet, because it's pretty I don't know, like it's just a bit more ostentatious, and it really reminds me of Sevatar's his actual helmet from the Forge World Mini. Sadly, I actually have it spare because sorry, you'll notice this Sevatar is using the plastic head. The wings actually broke from my Sevatar's head, which was a real shame. However, I'm going to be really careful. There we go. I did actually magnetize it. So if I ever get a spare head, maybe Sevatar will get his head back. Yeah. There you go. There you go, Sevatar. Sorry, buddy. So yeah, I really like this head. So that's the one that's going to be going on. Then we've got a couple different options for shoulder pads. So I'll just lay these ones out here. So we've got the skin option. Obviously being Sevatar, like he is a pretty horrendous dude and covers his armor in trophies and the like. So we've got that one. We've got this one, which is the more sort of regal, the visionary version, which I thought was really nice. And then we've got the regular version. I haven't actually made up my mind. Part of it depends on the inside of the skin one. It can sit very awkwardly depending on the angle of the arm. So I'm not sure if it will even fit yet. And to be honest, I don't want to mess about with it too much because, it's a really nice component and I just don't think I do it justice. Although I showed you just then I use epoxy putty, I'm not actually that good at using green stuff. I'm not particularly good at sculpting. I consider myself much better at using a X-Acto blade and a file. So those are my main tools, and I'll use green stuff and epoxy putty kind of when I feel I really need to. I can do a few things, but it's quite basic, so we'll learn together when that comes about. Next up, we have other options for the other shoulder pad. So that would have been the, let me think, left shoulder pad for the icon. So the right shoulder pad is going to be using either, we've got the skin draped Infractor shoulder pad, which I think is brilliant for Night Lords. We've got the skin one from the Nemesis Claw, but again, because of the way that the sculpt is on the inside here, it can fit really funny on a model. So let's just have a look on this one right now. We can just do a dry fit and just see. So this one, it looks like, oh yeah, okay, this looks pretty good. However, when we turn it around, I think you can see here that it's clipping ever so slightly. So we're probably going to have to rule this one out, sadly. Let's just grab the whip and have a go. Oh, you know what? No, it's still in the running. It is still in the running. That actually fits without clipping. Now, whether it fits naturally, you can see the overhang there. Whether it fits naturally is a different story, but we'll keep it in the running. Then, regular shoulder pad and the Regal Visionary shoulder pad. So we've got our options there. All very basic, but we're just looking for having components that work together. So what I forgot to mention as well is with this Lord Exultant, as you've probably seen from the Games Workshop one, he has the flowing cape that kind of goes into the robe here. Literally, all I did, let's see if this will, there we go, is I cut it off here and just filed it down just ever so slightly. And then, as you'll notice, there's the groove where the robe is supposed to flow into. We're going to use needles, which I drop. That will probably happen a lot because it's a very small component. So these are literally just going to sit right here like that. I could do grenades or something, but I want this to look like a Slaanesh corrupted Night Lord. So that's why we're just gonna go for it, and we're gonna go for the combat drugs, which sure technically they've got things that inside their armor that can administer it, but you know we want to do it old school. Then arms. So I tried a couple different options. So this is from the regular Chaos Space Marine set, and it's the kind of like holding almost backhand chainsword. And I thought that worked really well from a posing perspective because I kind of want, this is going to be tricky me doing this, but we'll give it a go. I kind of want that to be the pose so that it's kind of reminiscent of the Forge World model in that he's holding it with the haft, which will be going behind his back. Now the problem, not problem, it depends how fussy you are. I'm not massively, to be honest. I don't mind mixing and matching, but the Emperor's Children models, if you haven't already seen the scale comparisons, they are a lot taller than their regular counterparts. So the regular Chaos Space Marine arm, it looks a little bit out of place. So whereas you could get away with it with the Khorne Berserkers because they're a bit stockier, I didn't feel I could get away with it. So I decided to rule that one out. Then we have the actual Lord Exultant's arm, which obviously would work from a scale point of view because it's literally designed to. However, he's holding it so that the haft will be going vertically down, which I don't really want. I've kept it here as an option in case what I've planned to do doesn't work. So what we actually have is, I think it wasn't the backhanded Infractor blade. It was one of the regular ones, and it's just one where the arm sticks out slightly. And I think, although I won't be able to do the full backhand, I don't know why I'm still holding on to that. Let's see if I can show you. So it's always tricky when you're trying to just hold it in position because it's never going to be quite like that when you start gluing components. Okay, we're back. And the tassel, there we go. The tassel is gone. Man, this phone cannot focus. There we go. So not bad really. It actually came off pretty easily, in all fairness. Like lost a little bit of the detail there, but it's at such an angle that it's really not going to be that noticeable. So yeah, and I just, this is purely a personal preference thing. I just don't like tassels, and that's in real life. I don't know why. There's no particular reason, but they just annoy me. So yeah, and I left my glue in the other room. So I'll be back in 2 secs. All right, as you can tell, this is my first YouTube video, which is why there are all these cuts. But we have glue. Oh, we have glue. Danger, glue. Right, let's just do this. I definitely almost said the F word as well. I'm kind of watching my language a little bit because I don't know what the rules are on YouTube, what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. Probably a bit too much glue there. Really don't need a lot with plastic glue, as I'm sure you all know, as it just gets everywhere. So I've got to say, Emperor's Children models are really, really nice. Oh, I've just seen a fabulous mold line in that whip, which I'm going to have to get rid of. But I can't do it now because I've literally just glued it on and it will be tragic. So, right, there's the whip. You can tell I'm getting a bit, not anxious or agitated, but I'm just like, right, let's just do this. So we'll just check here as well. So yeah, got a nice amount of space, so that's fine. I think the backpack's going to probably need to go on next. This part here isn't glued, so it might be that we have to peel that off at some point, but we'll just see. Epoxy putty is actually pretty good, and by pretty good I mean really good, at like holding. So I've got a lot of my magnets on the underside of my bases with epoxy putty. So let's put a bit of super glue on and get that backpack on where we need it. Now, like I say, this one is a bit odd. The posing of it is a bit awkward. Also, the Colour Forge super glue. Okay, mini review. It's okay. It's fairly thin. And it does kind of really come out like quite, it comes out quite heavy. The nozzle on there is quite, it's quite a big nozzle. Got a big schnoz, and that sounded funnier in my head. And yeah, it's just like, it's okay. Oh, that's really, really liquidy. Okay. So let's just try and get it how we want it lined up. So it's being partly helped into place by the epoxy putty in the back. There we go. So we've got the gap there. So that's what we want. Although we want to keep it fairly, we're trying to keep it straight with the torso, because the backpack isn't going to be sitting straight with the horizon. It will be with the, you know, it's like bolted on to the back. So that's what we're looking to make sure it's lined up with, because otherwise it'll just look weird and awkward. And I'm sure you guys know that, but I'm just kind of, while doing this, I'm just voicing these things so that someone of any level can understand the rationale of what's being done and why. So yeah, we've got that gap. It's not huge, but it's enough. And like I say, we shaved away one layer. Shaved one layer of skin away. Nice. Very Night Lord. That whip sits closer to the leg than I realised it did. I mean, it's not an issue particularly, but okay. So we'll give that a minute to dry, and we'll have a think about our next move, which will probably probably be the arm. This one's actually really tricky because we've got two parts effectively that we're looking to line up. We've got the arm on the shoulder, and then we've got the hand. And when you're doing these models, it's so important to have it that it feels anatomically comfortable. And by that, what I mean is, although we're putting them in like a hero pose, we don't want it to feel like the joints are at really funny angles, because it can just ruin, well, not ruin, that's too strong a word, but it can just throw off a model slightly. So when we're doing things, we try and have things at subtle angles. Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that there, but at the back, it's going to be very close to the cloak. So it's not going to be able to go quite as far back as I was hoping. So I think it's going to basically be kind of like a bit more, yeah, a bit more like that, probably. All right, so we're going to do what we said that we weren't going to try and do too much. We're going to do a white tack test. So we're going to put a bit of white tack, and I use white tack, not blue tack, because I think this is white tack, or is it blue tack? You know what? Ignore me. Anyway, the reason why you would use white tack is because it's less greasy, but it's also a bit less sticky. But to be honest, I don't even know which one that is. It looks quite blue to me. Right, so that's what we don't want, because it's so far out. We want it on an angle. Okay. And let's see if I can show you holding it reverse. Yeah, that's what we're after. Again, it's difficult to show, but we just want that arm on that hand, sorry, on the angle. I think something like that anyway. But then and I suppose I'm kind of thinking here as I do this, it's almost mirroring the other arm. Okay, I'm going to be quiet for a second and think. Yeah, I think it's close enough. So we're going to go for it, because the other arms that I tried out, I just don't think that they are that close, and I want to do more than just like a weapon swap. I would like him to be in a different pose from the Lord Exultant, only for the reason that I just want him to feel like a slightly different model, or not even model, but a lot of these like really nice kits, and they are like, they're gorgeous kits, but you kind of end up having a bunch of models that look really like similar poses. And I was finding that with the infractors. Sorry, I'm not holding that in focus for you. I was finding that with the infractors. Really nice models, but ultimately it is 5 bodies repeated. So unless you start kind of pushing those kit bashes, what do we think, guys? So if I'm being critical, I would have liked that arm to be slightly further in, so more like that. And it's partly me being lazy in not shaving off part of the model, but I think we can get away with that. I think it's close enough. It's not entirely what we were after, but it's close enough. Okay, so we'll let that dry, and then hopefully this is dry enough that we can just get rid of that mold line that I noticed earlier. So it's just on the inside of the whip here. And I will do this on camera because I've already cut you guys away from the action enough times. I say action. Yeah, this is like just ever so slightly awkward. Excuse my blowing noises there. Just trying to see what I'm working with. You can see that one little bit that's really annoying. This is where I do this and just drag the arm off in its entirety. I've got most of it, but there's like one, I don't know if you can see it, there's like one really annoying bit. Oh, just clip the knee slightly. Good job. There we go. Got it, finally. There we go. I'm not a perfectionist, but there are things that, you know, that can bug you on models, and when they do, you kind of just have to, well, I have to just deal with them. Yeah, I think that works. So we'll, you know, the head angle, I think that having it on angle there, just like slightly leaning on the left, is going to look good. But we'll carry on with what we're doing, and we'll see. So let's carefully nudge that arm off. Get the white tack or blue tack, whatever the heck it is, off. And then let's just very carefully try and get it off of here as well. Really, I should just let the arm dry for longer before I mess about like this with it. Because plastic glue does take a while to properly join the parts. But for the interest of doing this video, I'm just gonna have a crack at doing things kind of like a little bit quicker than I might otherwise do. Because I've wanted to do stuff like this for a while. Not because I think I'm a great hobbyist. I don't. I think I'm pretty average as far as hobbyists go. And sorry, I do keep saying I've just noticed it. Yeah, that shoulder pad looks nice. Oh, I just did it again. Sorry, guys. I'm now super aware of it. And I say guys, as if anyone's watching this. That looks nice. Don't know if you can see it because my big finger's in the way. But yeah, that does actually work quite well, that one. Let's see if the other one works. Yeah, you know what? The other one works pretty well too. We might be going for double flesh. Why have one when you can double down? Just get a tiny bit of plastic off there. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to have grooves and the like, but in this instance, we just don't need them. Plastic glue will do the job for us. Yeah, so because this can't bend around much more because of the cloak, which you can't see in the shot, but I think I'm pretty happy with that. That's going to be okay. I guess we'll do... It's tricky because I want to do the shoulder pads next because the injector needles are going to kind of not want to get in the way of the shoulder pad. The question is, do we like double flesh? It adds to the symmetry of the model which we're getting quite strong here. But is it too much is the question. Like having the one that's, having the infractor one is also a viable option. And then let's just have a look at those visionary shoulder pads. So these are the visionary shoulder pads. You only get one set in Nemesis Claw. They're basically for the aspiring champion. I mean, yeah, I don't know what you guys think, but they also look quite nice to me. That is a tricky decision. It kind of adds to, so the thing that I'm thinking about here is, you notice how the point of the trim goes upwards? I like how it's almost pointing to the head and it's kind of creating a focal point. Question is, will that kind of get in the way of the actual helm? No, I don't think so. Decisions. This is tough. This is very tough. I wouldn't really want to use the flesh shoulder pad with the pointed shoulder pad, because I feel like that throws it off slightly, especially because, as you may or may not have noticed, this shoulder, the groove of which is coming off higher. Okay, so I had to take a short break there again. Had to put a bit of epoxy putty in here. It's still curing at the moment, but it just lifts the shoulder up so that it's sitting more level with the other shoulder. Not exactly level, but close enough that we're happy with it. I think we're going to put on the syringes now. So I'll be honest, this is probably going to be like a bit messier than it needs to be, and quite fiddly. So let's put a bit of glue on here. Don't want to put loads on, but we do need it to stick. And we're going to go for about, here, as I get it everywhere. All right, let's switch view. Yeah, you know what? That's not bad. I think that's going to do. So we've got his syringes on. We'll let that glue a bit. I think we're pretty happy with how that's sitting. Just turned it ever so slightly. We just want to kind of like avoid it touching other components, because again, that's where you'll end up getting kind of like paint sitting and pooling there. So that's just something I'll have to be aware of when I get around to painting it. Yeah, so I think we're looking pretty good so far. Now let's just put the glue on. I don't want to, you've been very patient if you've gotten this far with me. It's my first video, so let's face it, I don't really know what I'm doing. So when I'm holding it like this, just for those of you that are slightly more beginner level, I'm just letting it partially cure. That's literally all I'm doing, so that I can then get it to a point where I can adjust its position slightly. And when I say cure, sorry, like plastic glue, I mean, it's fusing the plastic together, but you have like additional working time to kind of do soft changes. Okay. So I think that's pretty good. Just give it like a little bit more pressure. I'll try not to. Don't want to put too much onto it. Let's try and see what it looks like with the shoulder. I don't want to glue the shoulder on yet. Just in case I have to make any micro adjustments. And the epoxy putty, it's the same day, so the epoxy putty hasn't cured yet. And so because of that, I don't want to commit to anything by gluing it and then have to spend more time changing things. Okay, so then it's just a case of putting the head on. I think we're happy with that. We'll just let that sit for a second. We'll just double check the mold lines on the head. I think they're all, we'll close up the plastic glue for a second because those nozzles dry up really quickly. So I think we've got a tiny mold line here. I got rid of most of them beforehand because I figured you don't need to see me cleaning up mold lines. There is a mold line removal tool from Citadel. I've not actually tried it yet. I do just use an X-Acto blade. I should have mentioned this earlier, I guess, for those of you newer to modeling. But X-Acto blades are incredibly sharp. Mine's just a bit blunted, which means I can kind of, get away with being a bit more, I don't know, reckless. I mean, hardly, nothing crazy, but normally these things are incredibly sharp, so you wouldn't be quite as cavalier as I am with it. So yeah, please, if you're using an X-Acto blade, just be careful, aim it away from yourself. Don't do what I do, which is sometimes where I drag it towards. I don't know if I've done that in this video, but yeah, you just want to respect the danger. Right, now let's go for the head. Pop a little bit of glue on. It's quite probably more than I needed to there. So I'm just gonna take a bit off with my finger, because if I need to reposition this later, I kind of just want to be able to ping it off. I shouldn't really need to, but I mainly use magnets now on the bottom of my minis, so I don't put them in foam trays anymore. So when they've got these kind of components that stick out a bit, they don't get caught on them. And now I wish I hadn't wicked off that extra glue. What's going on there? Yeah, let's actually put a bit more on. Look at this. You're gonna go away, tell your old friends, oh yeah, this dude was so professional, so good. Just nailed everything. First attempt. Definitely not. But I mean, that's kitbashing though, isn't it? It's a bit of trial and error. I've had models before where I've put them together, thought to myself, like, oh yeah, like nailed it. And then taken a step back and been like, oh, you know what, actually, not happy with that at all. Ripped it apart and tried again. I was just saying there whether I wanted the head tilting to the left or the right. I'm kind of feeling the slight tilt. I want him almost like he's sort of like looking down his nose at you. Not you particularly, but you know, just one, looking down at one. Okay. See, I really want to glue that shoulder on now. I think I'm going to do it, even though it's not cured, because that's really bugging me. Let's just go for it. Sorry, it's clearing my throat. I actually took a lunch break in between doing this, as I just needed a second to kind of re-energize. It's taking like longer to make this video than I thought it would, even though effectively it's just putting the components that I selected together. I've enjoyed it though. Like, it's been good. I hope you've gained something from it, seeing a little bit about the process of just doing a simple kitbash like this. And if anyone ever watches this, you know, feel free to give me a little bit of feedback, like what would you like to see more of, what would you like to see less of. I'm very much open to it. I just want to, my goal here is really just sharing the hobby with others. I love this hobby. I really enjoy Night Lords. I will probably mainly focus on Chaos, but I will kind of stretch the content out to different things if that's what people like, and also what I like, because I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it. And yeah, and I think that looks pretty good. So that's it for this video. Thank you for sticking with me. I hope you enjoyed Decimar, the False Prince, Prophet of Lies. And in the next one, I guess we'll do a little bit of painting on him and get him all painted up. So for now, let's just try and do a little close-up here. I won't do any fancy arty shots at the end because, well, this is a very amateur setup, as you've probably seen. But yeah, thanks very much, guys. Take care. Have an ace one. Yeah. Laters.